Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first in a two-part analysis, I guess? I don't know, just reviewing films. Video thingy where we review a whole collection of films starring the one, the only Nicolas Cage. However, because Cage was so important to us, so important to America and action film history, and those kind of Indiana Jones rip-offs that he did in the mid-2000s. Either way, he had his peak in the 90s, realistically. And I wanted to be able to revisit that, kind of see what I missed out on and recontextualize it, both in terms of what he has become and what he was back in the 90s. Now, of course, he has done a lot of films. So, when choosing this list that I narrowed down to presently 14, it got a little hectic. It might be 15 now. I don't know. I got an extra film lately, but still. I didn't really know how to do this, so I'm like, okay, Nicolas Cage, how would you do it, Rex? You just be confused and be like, what is happening? I don't know. So I figured, part one, this episode that you're watching now, is All-American Hero. Because that's who Nicolas Cage was in the 90s. He was the all-American hero, but that kind of theme stuck with him in some of his films. He tries to replicate it in a lot of his films, in fact. For example, the USS Indianapolis, which I'm not going to watch, at least not in these two parts. So I was like, okay, I got to look at his bad films, but I got to look at why. Could you see where he started to go, a bit of cuckoo in the brain? So we started with the 90s. So in this video, we'll be talking about 7 films, the majority of those films being filmed and released in the 90s, 2 of those films being in the mid-2000s, and one of them being of recent 2018. You could probably guess which one that is, to be honest. And to be honest, they're good films. Not all of them have this whole basis of American hero, but he's not so crazy. So for those curious why I'm not starting off with his crazier films, we'll be doing that in part dos, aka Unleash the Cage. Yeah, I'm kind of doing this a little differently now. It's like, I want to watch these films, and I want to review these films, and of course I want to review them and present them to you guys, so it's like, okay, I could do the cliche thing of like, let's do all those bad modern day Nicolas Cage films that he's doing for a quick buck because he's wasting too much money on gambling and drugs or whatever the hell he's doing. Who really knows or cares by this stage? So I figured, nah, I don't want to do that. Who really wants to watch the USS Indianapolis? No one. That is who. So, I'm doing what I want to watch. The ones that made him famous for being either a bad actor or a famous actor. So in this part, we will be looking at a whole bunch of them, actually. What do we have? We've got Con Air. We have The Rock. We have National Treasure. National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets. We have a kind of indie flick that he did called Red Rock West, and Adaptation, because it's probably and arguably maybe his best performance. And last but not least, everyone's favorite of his performance to date, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So, let's dig into it. I must admit, I think my favorite thing about looking for these Nicolas Cage films, especially from the 90s, you kind of realize that he does have that lunatic aspect to it, like the stuff that's really emphasized in, like, Wicker Man or, hell, even, Mandy as well. But you also do see it in some of his early 90s stuff, which we will explore in the next video, which should come out a week from now, for those interested. I'm also curious to know your thoughts. Should I be doing these reviews as a mixture of good and bad films, stick to one per actor, then maybe redo that actor or several months later or something, so I'm branching out a bit more, because I'm kind of doing two-parters for each actor currently, because there are a lot of films, but if I can get all of them done in one go, you know, it kind of works. It kind of works thematically too. You can kind of see how an actor has evolved and developed. That's just how I'm looking at it, more of a, as a, you know, film goer, and also someone who, you know, studies film. It's just kind of my thing. Because, you know, everything's interconnected and stuff. So, Con Air. Gotta start with the big guns. Hey, Rex. Right next to the doggy door, because, you know, timing is great. He doesn't even know whether to come out or not. He's so scared of the tripod, he doesn't know what to do. So, Con Air. The one thing I love about these 90s films of Nicolas Cage is evidently the extreme uses of patriotism. Like, if the first thing I'm going to write down for my review is patriotism, just in the notes, like in my first reactionary notes, it's just patriotism. And that's why he is the American hero, not the Australian hero, not the worldwide hero, the American hero. He's not even the American hero who, at the end of the day, like, saves the girl or whatever. Like, he only does that, realistically, in National Treasure, and that's because National Treasure is a gimmicky piece of crap. But then you have Con Air, and even The Rock, where he already has a girlfriend or a wife. So it's like, you know, he's not in it for the girl, really. Like, I mean, technically, yes, because it's like, you know, Con Air, the whole idea is he wants to get back to his wife. The Rock is somewhat different, but still similar. So, in Con Air, Cage plays Cameron Poe. No, not the guy from Star Wars. He is an ex-military dude who accidentally kills a dude who's, you know, a dick and drunk. You know, involuntary manslaughter or whatever the hell it is. Who really cares? And then he gets an 8-year-long prison sentence, as you do, you know, the good old stuff. Doesn't get a haircut for some reason, but it's pretty iconic, let's be honest. And then to go on, he's going to get his parole after these 8 years, finally going to meet his daughter, because he knocked up his girlfriend somehow, even though he was away on military service, and he comes back like, how pregnant was she when he came back? Hard to say, but I don't think that daughter is his. Either way. So yeah, it's you know, it's the big day. It's July something or other, literally like the day after I watched this film in real life. It's kind of weird. Like, I think it was like the 17th, and I watched it on like the 18th. Or maybe it was the 14th. Do I have that written down? July 14th. I watched the film on July 15th, and the film was set on July 14th. I don't know why that's interesting. I think it is. It's weird. It's one of those movies that, oh, the date's important. Well, of course it is. It's his daughter's birthday. Gotta remember that. It's his daughter's birthday. It's the most pivotal thing of the whole entire film. So, yeah, you can't forget that. He's going back home for parole on his daughter's birthday. It's like, oh, timing is of the essence. Now, of course, he's going on this flight, but this flight is full of other bad guys. All these big bad guys, like Cyrus the Virus, played by John Malkovich, who in his mugshot is, you know, creepy. Really fracking creepy. So just... actually got a really good cast. A lot of these films have a really good cast. Steve Buscemi's in this one, and he's great. But I think everyone pretty much agrees on that. The quote, of course, that I had to put down is, it's gonna be an all-star flight. Said by John Malkovich's character, which is kind of obviously meant to be like a poetic irony, because it's like, you know, you've got all these evil bad guys, but then you've also got all these really good stars who are in it as well. So it's like, hey, cool, it's like a Michael Bay movie, but not. Anyway. Oh, and of course the other quote, put the bunny in the box. Put the bunny back in the box. This movie, it's, again, 90s, quotable stuff, like Speed, like all this stuff. It's quotable. That's how you know you got your start of a good movie right there. It's quotable. It seems over the top and goofy, but it's quotable. So, what's really important about this film? Plot-wise, he gets on a plane, the bad guys end up killing the good guys on the plane, and they end up hijacking it, making it Con Air. Get it? Because they're all cons. It's like a pun, but it's a pun. Oh no, it's fun. That's rhymed. And all he wants to do is get back to his home and be with his daughter and his wife. But he's too much of a good guy. He's like, my friend here who's dying from something, he needs an injection, but they break his injection. It's like insulin or something. And it's like, if he doesn't have his insulin, he's gonna die. And then there's the Spanish, is she Mexican? I don't know. She's a woman of color, cop. I think she's meant to be Mexican or something, Spanish. Maybe Latino is the right word. I don't know. I don't go to America, who cares? Either way, she's there, and you got people who want to do bad things to her. So it's like, okay, yeah. So we understand Cage's position here. He's like, I can't just ditch these guys and have one of them die and the other one probably be, have some bad stuff happen to her and then get killed afterwards. You don't want to do that. Just like how I don't want to slap these dogs across the face right now for barking so loud, but I'll have to do it. I'm not going to do it. So what can I really say about this film? It's a fun film. It has, it has its casual, sloppy editing during some action scenes because, it's the unfortunate consequence of some stuff. But I mean, outside of that, it's a blast to watch. I mean, I think most people agree on that aspect. It has its perfectly cheesy one-liners. You've got over-the-top explosive action. And, of course, Cage being the all-American hero. Is this the first film where he's the all-American hero? Probably not. Mostly because I don't have the dates written down for any of these movies, so I don't know which came. I think The Rock is after. I think that was 97, so this might have been like 92 or 94. Either way, it's like his early start to American action hero stardom because everyone else is getting too old, I guess. I don't know. Who was really an action hero outside of Keanu Reeves in the 90s? I don't know. I wasn't alive in the 90s. Not really. Yeah, wow, I've actually got nothing really else to say. I think, so, I gave the film 3.5 stars. It's a fun romp. It's got an interesting, but, it's one of those cliche, it's the thing with, American action hit films in the 90s. There's no real essence to it. Everything's on the surface stuff. It's either used for comedy or it's used for action. The drama is just there. There's no real underneath subtext or anything like, oh, it's Con Air. It's not a criticism against, the American justice system. Not really. It's just, go away. It's just a thingy, It's just, we want another action film in the 90s. Because, again, the 90s were a decade where nothing happened. You could do whatever you wanted. Not really, but, it just, speed, bomb on a bus. Con Air, cons on a bus, in the sky. There's not really much else to it. So in terms of narrative or even, essence in cinema, there's not really much there. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. And that's really pretty much like most of these films that Cage started. Actually, all of these films that are in this list except for Spider-Verse and adaptation pretty much have no real essence to them. I mean, maybe Red Rock West, but we'll get there. Would I suggest this film if you haven't watched it? Yes. I think it's a good way to start off a Nicolas Cage marathon. I think it's a good way to look at him as an action hero. It has some elements of him being a good actor, but it's not over the top there. It's not over the top Cage like everyone loves to see now, or hates to see now, because it's either he's bored and old, and he's, or, yeah. So, yeah. It's interesting. It's unfortunate that there's, in terms of his performance, there's nothing bad, He's an action hero, Nicolas Cage. He can be dramatic if he needs to. He can be cool, but that's really all he needs to do. He's cool. He has this kind of accent that's, I think it's a Texan accent. I don't know. It's an accent, that's for sure. Maybe it's from Colorado or something. I don't know. I don't know, America. There's 50 states. How can you remember what every single accent is from? And I don't even live there, so I don't know. But still, it's not bad. Again, 3.5 stars. 3 stars, 3.5, whatever I gave it. It's enjoyable. And I think that's what the main takeaway is. So, let's go into his more modern romp, National Treasure. Oh, right. National Treasure. It's like Indiana Jones for my generation, but so much worse. So much worse. Anyway, National Treasure, obviously the best quote that I could have taken, which is not the quote that I actually used, but is one that I had to write down, because how could I not? We're going to steal the Declaration of Independence. I can't impersonate Cage. I'm a tree. Anyway, my actual quote that I used was, we don't need someone crazy, but one step short of crazy, what do you get? Obsessed. Passionate. Yeah. I think it was Roger Ebert who said that this is like a Monty Python film, except not played by the Monty Python cast, like it's the script of a Monty Python film. Imagine if this was a Monty Python film, that'd be great. Anyway. So Cage plays Benjamin Franklin Gates, aka American hero number dos. He's Indiana Jones if he were a modern-day delusional pirate, or I think they call it Americans these days. Yeah, Americans as we call them now. He's a treasure hunter. He doesn't like plants. Yeah, it's Cage, alright. So this is like just the verge before he went completely bonkers. I think. I don't know. I haven't done enough research into Cage to give a shit. Who really cares? We know he does some bad films. Like, I think this was just before he did Wicker Man. So he was still popular. He was still in the eye of the audience. And I mean, this film, which also garnered a sequel, still got a lot of money. So there's no real argument that Cage wasn't popular during this time. But this was like the peak end of his run of being popular. This wasn't him in the 90s anymore. This wasn't him being cool. This was him being like, oh, he's like aged 10 years and like he has the same haircut in every film now, and it's like, and he has like the same almost performance in every film now, and it's like, it's just, what the hell is happening, you know? It's just, So, yeah, now just a reminder, now, in these movies, Cage is not crazy, even though everyone says he is. In the movie, he's not crazy. He's just an ordinary dude who likes to hunt treasure. I used to do that when I was 5 as well. See, he's not crazy. It's only mildly disappointing that he's, given how, like, this could have been, like, a deconstruction of conspiracy nuts, but instead, Disney fueled those maniacs with these 2 films being like, American Conspiracy, the Declaration of Independence has a map on the back of it. Ah! Oh, did I mention they were Disney films? Disney, fueling conspiracy theorists since 2000-something. Maybe since the Lost Atlantis film. I don't know who really cares. It's Disney. So what's the plot? That's what everyone's asking for. What is the plot? What is the plot of the film, Plant? I don't know either. But I have it written down. Ben is a treasure hunter and has believed his whole life that because of his grandfather, there is a secret treasure buried somewhere and is related to the Declaration of Independence. Great plot. So yeah, Cage swaps out his long, uncut hair for a suave jacket, jeans, and a white button-up shirt with the colour just open enough for this film to be PG-13. It's not suitable for children. He plays the confident, somewhat cocky yet masterfully genius puzzle solver. Again, it's like Indiana Jones if he were more of Tomb Raider instead. He just liked puzzles instead, and he's like, I know American history like the back of my f***ing ass, so of course I know who Thomas Jefferson's granddaughter's name was, and her brother. Yeah, but again, like Indiana Jones, if you liked puzzles and not fighting Nazis. which is something we'll get to later. Sean Bean, on the other hand, is our antagonist. We have an antagonist to talk about. In Con Air, of course, we had Jerome Malkovich and a whole bunch of people. It was a cast of antagonists. So it was just like, boom, one American hero versus all of the bad guys. This time it's one American hero versus a white British dude. Like, I've got no beef against Sean Bean, but like, mother of God. Seriously? So yes, he is our white antagonist. No, I'm not saying we needed the black antagonist. I'm just saying that I mean white as in white bread. He's boring, is what I'm saying. I'm like, it's not a race thing. It's just it's symbolic of being boring. He's an investor. It's really evil, isn't it? Turned domestic terrorist because he too wants to steal the Declaration of Independence to become a rich white dude. Super compelling. Oh, I hope he doesn't win. Oh shit. He could like get all this treasure and become rich and do nothing because he doesn't have a giant laser or anything. He doesn't have a fucking Ark of the Covenant to unleash ghosts and kill everyone. He's not a Nazi. I mean, technically he is, but technically he isn't. So yeah, I mean, overall the film has a charm, but not an overbearing charm that makes you enjoy every minute of it. It's kind of like Saturday night kind of movie where it's like you can fall asleep to it if you want. Who really cares? You know what's going to happen in the end. He's going to win. He's going to save the day and win the babe who loses her accent halfway throughout the film, and then don't even mention the second film because her accent is atrocious in that. It just gets worse. You have the white nerd kid who's in his 30s who just likes playing on his laptop because he's a nerd, and it's like, oh, wow, every character in this film is a stereotype. Story writing right there. You wonder why they haven't made a third one yet. So yeah, this is no Indiana Jones. Cage is no Indiana Jones. And America's history is no Indiana Jones. Because America's history is like, it makes it seem so boring in this film. I'm sorry, I've studied American history. It's not that gallant. Jesus, who cares? But you know, I could probably pass that test now to become an American citizen. So that's cool. 3 stars. Because it's enjoyable, nothing special. And now we're going to talk about the second one while we're here. Because I think this has been a crooked angle the whole time. I don't see why people like tall plants. Are they scary? You look out the window and you just have this creepy thing. It's like bloody Day of the Triffids. National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets. So, dun, 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 don't know what the theme is. There's no, who cares? There's no theme to these movies. My quote, of course someone was after my quote, of course someone is after the treasure. It's the axiom of treasure hunting. Ha, I get it, because when there's one treasure hunter, there's always a second one. Oh, hey. Have you watched Pirates of the Caribbean? Because the producers of these films have. It's a Disney movie. So imagine Cage. Standing up tall. He's like, I am Hero Man. And, oh, here's a fact about America. Pulling it right out of his Pachenko machine. Yeah, so it's just Cage pulling out, like, BS American facts. Just right out of some area you don't want to know where it is. For 2.5 hours. Well, 2 hours and 11 minutes, actually. It's still too long. Oh my god. It's like you get paid to get someone who's really, really dumb to do a Rubik's Cube, but then it's actually 10 Rubik's Cubes in one, and it's like, I don't know, it's a really weird analogy. That wasn't in the script. Cage does act like a drunken douche when in Buckingham Palace, which is great. We're going back to the crazy Cage. Yes! Finally. For 2 minutes. It's the only part of this whole entire film worth watching. That's all I can say. I should also mention, it doesn't really help that Abigail, the, only woman in this whole entire franchise, except for Helen Mirren, who I thought was I'm very sure they said that Cage's mum was dead in the first one, but apparently no, she's alive, and she's played by Helen Mirren. Remember her from Reds? Now, was that a movie about communists, or was that just an action film about American people who are not communists? I don't know. Who cares? So, Abigail, the blonde one, who is either German or something European, keeps diving in between having an accent and not having an accent, and having an accent and not having an accent. It's very evident that she's American and doesn't actually have an accent. And I don't know why they kept it up. It's like Scarlet Witch in the Marvel movies, you know. She has an accent in the first one. Second one, it's kind of there. Third one, it's just gone. It's gone. Oh, where'd it go? I don't know. It's like Quicksilver. He's just gone. Right the fuck out of there. Yeah. So, realistically, there's nothing to say about this film. Nothing. It's exactly the same as the first one. It's probably more boring. I don't know. You don't have to set up the characters, so at least there's that. But then Harvey Keitel just randomly shows up because he was in the first one. They're like, we need the FBI guy back because reasons, you know, and Cage has to kidnap the president. You wonder why they have another third one. Yeah, it's identical to the first one. Outside of Cage's comedic outbursts, it's identical. So, again, 3 stars because it's identical. Realistically, it's 2.5 stars. I only gave it the extra half star because of Cage's outbursts. Cool, let's move to a different location and talk about The Rock. Hi, how's it going? So, let's talk about The Rock. So, apparently, Nicolas Cage has a weird thing with choosing character names that are bloody weird. For example, the Benjamin Franklin Gates from the National Treasure duology. And in this film, The Rock, he plays Dr. Goodspeed. Henceforth, my quote is, "No, Dr. Goodspeed, it's not a training exercise." So Cage plays Beatles maniac Dr. Stanley Goodspeed, who's a chemical enthusiast and is hired to assist the Pentagon to take down Ed Harris's domestic terrorist plot. Because again, the 90s are all about domestic terrorists who are just Americans against other Americans, because we're not allowed to do, or they weren't allowed to do, anyone from the Middle East or Russian, because, you know, the Cold War was over, and I guess they weren't at war with Afghanistan. I mean, they were, but they weren't really totally secret. It's probably been exposed by now, right? Yeah. Anyway, so this film, of course, is directed by the majestic Michael Bay. Can't diss the Bay, can you? Hey, yeah, so the film, you know, has its stylistic action. The cinematography is, whew, and without this style, realistically, the film would be kind of bland. I mean, it has some one-liners because it's a 90s action film. It has some great explosions that Michael Bay is really particularly great in. So it's like, I don't think it would have been as good without him. Realistically, this definitely, I mean, outside of the obvious, it has his fingerprints all over it. You can't change that. If you took Michael Bay out of the picture, there wouldn't be a picture. And I mean, that's not exactly a bad thing. I don't mind Michael Bay. He's made some bad films in his time. But for the most part, some of his are very commendable artistic achievements. Sure, let's put it that way. So yeah, the performances in particular are lively and entertaining, and assist to keep the audience entertained between action scenes. So that's pretty much like most action films, except do you exactly care about these characters? I mean, I guess care enough. Again, 90s action film. You're there for the action, for the gunfights, for the explosions, for the macho over-the-topness that's more realistic than the 70s and 80s, especially like Predator and the Terminator, you know, and Commando. You don't need your 80s fix of big muscular men who can't talk properly. Probably, I don't know. No offense to Schwarzenegger, it's just a thing. You know, you don't want your big muscular men who either don't talk or don't talk very much. And instead you get, skinnier white dudes who just are like, hey, I've kind of got a mild 4-pack, but who cares? I'm not going to take my top off. I'm going to shoot a buttload of people, or Sean Connery, either way. Cage in particular still demonstrates his all-American hero persona, and even through the lens of a lab rat, because for once we're making the nerds the cool guys, I guess. Sure, why not? He is, he's entertaining every once in a while, because just a little bit mad, just a little bit mad. You can see the wicked man slowly building up into him. It's cuckoo banana. But yeah, I mean, overall, he's an effective action hero, he's the average American 90s audience crowd pleaser. Yeah, there's nothing else to it. Again, like I said before, he doesn't have a girl to go after because he already has one, so he's like, oh, I'm going to make sure, that she's safe, even though he was already going to do this job, so, she's not really the reason he's doing it, so I guess there's that. She's definitely a backup reason and a reason why you should care about the people on land, because of their fake sex scene, either way. Yeah, Nicolas Cage has a sex scene in this film. I mean, no, this isn't any Wild at Heart, and yes, we'll get there in the next video, because even though he's not really crazy in that film, it's a crazy film and I want to rewatch it, because I love Wild at Heart. So yeah, so outside of some sloppy editing during some action scenes, the film isn't too bad. I mean, it's the same as Con Air. I think Con Air is probably a better film, in terms of rewatchability. It's shorter, a lot shorter. It has better one-liners, better characters, a lot more fun that you can get behind. So it's not a bad thing. But yeah, but The Rock it's energized. It allows itself time to introduce and develop its core characters, even enough for you to care about them until the very last frame, And this film is also exceptionally patriotic, and also anti-patriotic at the same time, and I kind of love it for that reason. So that's why I gave it 3.5 stars. It's fun. It's a romp. It's just boom, boom, action, boom. And yeah, it just kind of keeps on trucking. Would I recommend The Rock? Yes. Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, hey, it's a Michael Bay film, so you get that fun explosions out of it. It's not over the top, because again, this is still the 90s, this is still when Bay's making his name. But it definitely has a lot of Bayisms, for one thing. Cage is just like he was in the Con Air, except without the accent and without the constant repetition of, it's my daughter's birthday, or in this case it would be my girlfriend's on that island, or my fiance's on that island, or my girlfriend is pregnant and she's my fiance and she's on that, not on the island, of course, they're in San Francisco, whatever the hell it is. LA? I don't know, wherever the hell Alcatraz is. Because Alcatraz is The Rock. I wonder if they're going to make a film where Dwayne The Rock Johnson goes to Alcatraz. Probably not. That'd be really, really dumb. So let's talk about a film that isn't dumb. Red Rock West. This film is, for some people I should say, is kind of a collective of David Lynch characters. This is this film mid-90s, 97. You've got, actually no, I think this is 92. Yeah, I think it is, actually. This is 1992. 97 was The Rock. I think 93 or 94 was Con Air. 92, Cage has just come off his Wild at Heart film. So that came out, 1991? I think it came out in 1990. It came out the year between Season 1 and Season 2 of Twin Peaks. So David Lynch did a film between the seasons, and people hated it, because they're like, what the hell is this? And it has Nicolas Cage, and he's great, and I'll get to that in the next video. You have the character who plays Donna Hayworth. Yes, I cannot remember her name. This is the only film I've actually seen her in outside of Twin Peaks, so it's like, yay. Lara Flynn Boyle, I think that's her name. Yeah, so, she's just come out of Twin Peaks, and she's in this film. And then you've got Dennis bloody Hopper. And whew, he's a showstopper and a half, isn't he? He a few years before this had been in David Lynch's Blue Velvet and had played a very similar character. So of course, if you watch this film and you really like Dennis Hopper, you will love Blue Velvet. Or if you love Blue Velvet and more of Dennis Hopper in that kind of way, then you'll love Red Rock West. Cage plays more of the drifter. He's quiet. But he's smart enough to do what he needs to do. He's got a sore knee, so he can't do a lot of the manual labor work that he needs to do. And he's kind of going town by town looking for jobs. He stumbles upon Red Rock West, and due to a suggestion from a guy at a gas station, pretty much, who's like, "Hey, look, go to Red Rock West. They always have jobs there." He goes there, goes in the bar, and the barman is like, which I think is played by J.T. Walsh, he's like, "You're that guy from Texas, right?" You know? And so suddenly, boom, what the hell's going on? And then the barman hires Cage to kill his wife for infidelity, supposedly. And then it goes from there. It just goes, he goes to kill the wife, then he pretty much explains everything to the wife at gunpoint, and she pays him double. He gets the high road out of town, and then things go haywire when he accidentally runs over someone. So you just see it escalate. So I'm not going to go further into the details of the story of the film. 10-15 minutes later, Dennis Hopper's character shows up after a chase scene, and it's like, okay, now the film's really kicking itself in the fifth gear. Like, it's just gone bananas already. Like, it starts off slow, it's artistic, it's beautifully shot. I think everything except for maybe the sound design is really good. I mean, the sound design is not bad, it's just obviously low-budget sound design. You know, no big gun sound effects, just the regular kind of cap gun sound effects, that kind of stuff, you know. Audio in general is fine, but outside of those extra special effects kind of stuff, it's okay. But yeah, this film goes from just what you think is maybe a slow kind of western, and then, of course, not set in the West. Well, I mean, it is, but it's not set in the Old West, it's modern day, it's 1990, whatever. And it's just something different, you know. It really expresses that Cage can perform, can act, which is very nice. And it's just something different. So what else? What have I said about it in terms of my notes? My quote, kind of dumb, just says, "If I were you, I'd get a divorce." It was actually a joke that he says in the film to Lara Flynn Boyle's character, because of course, you know, the husband's trying to get her killed, and he's like, "If I were you, I'd get a divorce." I laughed, so I'm like, hey, I'm gonna write that down. That's my quote. It's funny. So yes, this is not what I expected, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Every time you expect the film to be, you know, out of steam or have nowhere to go, you're just like, all right, where else are they gonna go now? Like, he's literally gone in and out of Red Rock West within the first 20 minutes, and you're like, okay, he's leaving. What happens now? Then he runs into someone, like, literally, someone goes right over his roof, and you're just like, what? Okay, this is just, he has to go back to Red Rock West, you know, after he's already done something very bad there that he shouldn't have done. So you can already see the tension building up. But yeah, honestly, once Hopper shows up, the film really lands on its feet. Hopper is amazing, as always, really, and plays another one of those, you know, perfect for Dennis Hopper types of just kind of an asshole, but hilarious and really, really fun to watch. Lara Flynn Boyle, of course, is both she's compelling, you know, and often seductive. In one particular scene where she literally has sex with Nicolas Cage's character, and it's just like, sure, I mean, I guess you don't really need this scene, but it's like, sure, why not? But at the same time, there's one particular, like, really big part of like, pretty much the last third of the film, where all the main characters are in a car together and they have this whole big thing together. She just kind of seems like, as I have written, she can often seem like a cactus in a desert, when Hopper, Cage, and Walsh all share the scene with her. As in, she's just kind of there, she doesn't really do anything. At the same time, contextually, she's handcuffed for, like, the whole time, so it's like, okay, but she's like, takes like 20 minutes to break out of handcuffs that Cage took 5 minutes to break out of. It's like, really, the writers definitely had nothing for her until they're like, okay, we need her now. Unleash her, let her go and do her thing. Walsh additionally provided an excellent talent to this already stellar lineup. Like, it's a small cast, it's a good cast, it's a very fun film, and definitely worth checking out. I mean, I bought it for like $4 on eBay. I actually said that, yeah, so it was well worth the money, you know. Like, I would have paid to see this in cinema, definitely, if I was alive in the 90s, the early 90s. But yeah, at the end of the day, Cage is what I came for, and I think this is probably one of his best performances. Outside of, I mean, look, Spider-Verse is fun, all the other films he's done are fun, but like, for his really dramatic performances, I mean, that really shows off his talent, this film and adaptation do really well at that. So I gave this film 4.5 stars. Yeah, it's quite something. And it is presently 11 degrees. How about where I currently am? You know, stop showing my... Oh, it's 11 degrees. And it's only going to get colder, so I'm going to wrap this up. So the last two films I'm going to talk about. I'll start with, of course, everyone's favourite Spider-Man film, Into the Spider-Verse. What, it isn't your favourite Spider-Man film? Because Spider-Man 2 is your favourite? Okay, fine. Spider-Man 2 is everyone's favourite Spider-Man film. But Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is really everyone's favourite Spider-Man film. Spider-Man 2 is a better film, but this film is also still just as good, realistically. Let's be honest with ourselves. Okay. I mean, what the hell do I really need to say? I'm not going to go into the story or anything of the film. Dimensional portal explodes, makes every different Spider-Man from different universes all collide into one universe with Miles Morales, the black kid who plays Spider-Man. He's cool, he's great in this film. And the whole film is animated, so it makes it even more fun because one of the characters is literally a pig. You know, I don't need to explain what happens in this film. That's just this general setup because it's into the multiverse. Spider-Verse in this case. So of course, I pretty much watched like 5 minutes of footage about Cage because I've seen this film 4 or 5 times now already. Twice this year to begin with. I think I saw it twice last year, twice this year. So, yeah, I really like this film. So here are some quotes just to throw at you. I like to drink egg creams and I like to fight Nazis. Sometimes I let matches burn down to my fingertips just to feel something, anything. You get my drift. So, Cage plays Spider Noir, a Peter Parker from the 1930s where everything is black and white and he fights Nazis. He doesn't understand colour, literally, a joke in the film. He has a Rubik's Cube and he keeps guessing the colour, but he doesn't realise it's multiple colours because he can't see colour. He sees everything in black and white. Cage plays the character so perfectly for the whole first time I was watching it. Yeah, so for the whole first time I was watching the film, I was so bewildered by his performance that I didn't know who the hell it was. Until the end credits showed up and it's like, Nicolas Cage. And I'm like, what? Nicolas Cage was in Spider-Man? What? I mean, so yeah, what else do I need to say? He's perfect in the film. It's a 5-star film. Easy. His character is great, a great addition to the film. The narrative doesn't obviously focus strongly on him. He's a side character, but he's a main side character. If he wasn't there, it wouldn't be as fun, but it's still a very fun film, you know. He's great. You look at all this behind-the-scenes stuff of him just doing all the voice work, and you're just like, this is great. Like, he feels like he's from a 30s noir detective film, and it just is perfect. It's so well directed and so well written. So definite props to the writers and directors of the film. Pretty much everyone on the film. The art direction, everything. It's amazing. It's a gorgeous film. 5 stars. Go watch it if you haven't. Please do. It's amazing. They need sequels. We need sequels, I guess. But lucky last, the one I literally just finished, adaptation. I'm not going to play it any longer than it has to go. You already know that it's adaptation. This film is written by Charlie Kaufman, who's like known as one of the best screenwriters of our generation, of our time. I shouldn't say our generation. He's not my generation. He's like two generations before mine. And this film is famous for like multiple reasons. Pretty much the idea for the film is Charlie Kaufman. It's a meta film, so it's Charlie Kaufman, the screenwriter, is trying to figure out how to write a film based on a book called The Orchid Thief. So hence adaptation is a twofold pun, because it's an adaptation. He's trying to make an adaptation of a book into a film. Also, adaptation is like a thing that happens with plants because they adapt. It doesn't matter. It's biology. It's a pun. Okay, you get it. And so the whole film is him trying to figure out how to write it whilst you're cutting back between Meryl Streep's storyline, where she's a writer of the book, and you get her whole storyline with the guy who actually was the Orchid Thief, and that relationship develops. You got Charlie Kaufman and his brother Donald Kaufman, who actually is not a real person, who's written fake for the script, and it's great. And it's just this whole development thing of like, you know, Donald. It's kind of a weird competitive thing between Charlie and Donald. Like, Donald doesn't see it. He's just like, everything's nonchalant, it's fine, everything's great. And he's just writing his own screenplay because he's like, hey, I need to get another job. And he just keeps kind of like stressing Charlie out because Charlie can't write this screenplay. He can't adapt this impossible to adapt book. And of course, it's based on the fact that Charlie Kaufman in real life could not adapt the book. He had a writer's block and just could not adapt the book into a screenplay, and so he came up with this idea of him trying to write into a screenplay because there was no drama from the original book, and that's the whole point. There was no drama, there's no conflict, so he had to make it up, and it really works. It's a film about flowers. So the twist here is that you're probably wondering, who does Nicolas Cage play? Hello, Snoopy. Hello. Who does Nicolas Cage play? He plays Charlie and Donald Kaufman. He plays both. He plays twins with a kind of mildly fat suit thingy on and a bald cap, and it's great. It's such a strange makeup job, and I really liked it. I can't remember the first time I watched this film. I've watched it a few times now. I watch it every few years, to be honest, because it's really good. And it's just such a bizarre film, and for Nicolas Cage, again, one of my other favourite performances of his in a dramatic film, in a dramatic role, and it's just like, what is this? And like, he starts off as this, he's creepy, he's sweating all over the place, he can't handle himself in front of women, in front of even just regular people, for his job and stuff, and it's just really creepy, and like, you just don't like him. But then things start to develop when he's trying to find a purpose, both from writing this screenplay, but also in his own life. And has the competitive factor against his brother. So of course, then you've got Donald Kaufman, who is polar opposite. Again, doesn't exist in real life, and he's not like he's not like an imaginary character in the film. In the film, he's a real person. And it just keeps escalating, and there's nothing really I need to say about the story. How about his performance? Well, given that he plays two people, it's really bloody good. He's convincing as both Charlie and Donald, especially given that Donald doesn't exist, but it's not hard to play off the fact that both of them are polar opposite people, really. Like Charlie's all depressed and vain and critical and cynical and everything, you know. He's the worst kind of person. But then you've got Donald, who's just like positive, but he's always looking for something. He can never really hold that perfect job, and then he finds this perfect job in screenwriting because he's like, hey Charlie, you're a real big inspiration to me. I'm going to be a screenwriter just like you. And he comes up with a screenplay, and it's like a great idea, and everyone loves it, and makes Charlie feel like shit, you know. But then he's not throwing it in Charlie's face on purpose or anything. It's just like, that's just how Charlie is feeling because of it. So you get this whole dichotomy between the characters, and it's one of those films where it's like they're both in the same room, in the same shot, with the same lighting, and they both actually look like they're there, and it's so well done with the special effects to have literally two Nicolas Cages looking identical in the same room together throughout the whole film, and it's so well done, and his performance is great on both terms. He's so good in the comedic and the dramatic elements of both of it. Like, you really care for the character by the end of the film, and yeah, it really works. I mean, again, it's all meta, so it kind of has this whole underlying kind of comedic element to it all. but at the same time, it's just so interesting to watch. So of course, if you haven't watched adaptation, I mean, I give it probably 4.5, maybe 5 stars. I went straight from watching the film again to doing this. I haven't actually written up my review for it yet. All I can say is it's really goddamn good, and you should watch it. And my quote, because of course it's from, I think it was Brian McKee. I don't know. It's a guy who plays the screenwriter for the book Story, which I think I have actually, because of course I want to be a screenwriter, so why would I not have that? And he says, his quote, which I love, and most people love, this whole entire part where Nicolas Cage is playing Charlie Kaufman. He's in this auditorium full of like 500 people who've all paid for a 3-day thing of Brian McKee, whatever his name is, explaining, like, diving into how to write a screenplay. And of course, Charlie asks him, "What if you write a story? What if you're writing a screenplay, but nothing happens in it? Like, there's no dramatical development, no one changes by the start to the end of the film. Nothing's really happened." And he goes off there, and he's like, "Who the hell would want to watch that?" He literally says, like, if Charlie's point is that nothing happens in the world and nothing happens to these characters, then his response is, "Nothing happens in the world? Are you out of your fucking mind?" I'd quote the whole thing or even show the clip, but I get copyright strikes, so I'm not going to do that. All I can really say is it's a good film, and I highly recommend it. It's got good performances all around from literally everyone in it. It's very fun. The meta element is fun as well. It makes me, like, the first half of it makes me depressed to be a screenwriter in the future, and it's like, oh god, this seems awful. But then, like, you watch the rest of the film and you understand Donald's point of view and his whole character arc, and you're like, actually, this really works. And given that he's one of the best screenwriters we have right now, it's like, yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. It's a good film. Highly suggest it. Nicolas Cage is amazing. So yeah, 4.5 to 5 stars, probably 5 stars. Let's be realistic. And I'll see ya. That's all I gotta say. So yeah, it smells like plant. Yes. So stick around. Next time, next week, next something or other, we're gonna do part 2, where we talk about Nicolas Cage when he goes crazy. It's Unleash the Cage. So if I start retitling these videos, like, instead of reviewing reviewing blank actor films, it becomes, Cage is crazy, or Keanu's badass, or something like that. I don't want to name it like that. That sounds dumb, but it just does that, whatever. So yeah, I'm going to be filming that very shortly and hopefully releasing it soon. It's still July right now, so I have time. I've got another 7 films to watch. If you have suggestions for actors you want to see me review, I don't think I want to go as overboard as this Nicolas Cage one, especially the Keanu Reeves one where I just reviewed too many films. I think what I want to start doing now is being like, grabbing 5 to 7 of an actor's films, kind of like what I did originally, like start with 3 or 4 that are bad and 2 or 3 that are good, balance it out, some good, some bad, so I don't go insane, given how I'm going to go insane after watching all these bad Nicolas Cage films. It might kill me. So yeah, let's. I'm just gonna probably figure it out. I mean, some actors might have great films, and they might not have any bad films for me to review. So, and I might just be like, hey, I just want to review this actor because I want to watch these films. I'm in the mood for these films. So yeah, I've already got my next actor in mind. He is not very popular right now, but was for a long time, for about the past 20, 30 years. And this past 10, 15 year period has not been very popular. Kind of like Nicolas Cage, but is not. And there's one film in particular that goes for way too long that I'm forcing myself to watch, so I hope it's going to be worth it. But yeah, so If you have any suggestions, feel free to put them in our comment section. Outside of that, feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more. If you want to see more reacting or whatever, reviewing actors' films, I've got Keanu Reeves, a two-parter, Masami Nagasawa for my Japan special, and of course we started off with Cara Delevingne, Dakota Johnson, and Aubrey Plaza. Currently I can list them all on like almost two hands, so by the time we get to the end of the year, I won't be able to do that, and it's going to get really tricky. But yeah, so we're doing this once to twice a month, depends on how we're going. I'm limiting my videos now down to these reviews, video essays and films, and Lachlan reviews. That's pretty much all I'm doing on my channel, unless there's something fun or different I want to do, something specific to me, like, oh, it's my collection of this, or whatever, you know. So yeah. See you later. Bye.